Prima Kottumee is a brand we've grown up with. And today I'm here with Sajith Gunaratne to talk about what makes this brand unique. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Rohanti, for this opportunity.
There's a lot of questions that I can start with. But if I ask you, Prima Kottumee, you are in a market that is extremely crowded. But over the years, we've seen this brand really differentiate itself from, apart from product features, apart from the price. What makes it unique?
I think it's a good question to ask. I think the consistency, everything for us starts from our positioning, which is the essence of the brand is, fueling hot and spicy fun. So when you look at our positioning is very clear. So what we want to cascade all our activities and energies through that positioning statement. As you know, Prima Kottumee is a brand that is loved by a youth mindset. We don't normally look at demographics much, but if you have a hot and spicy mindset, you can always interact with us. So what we have done over the years is to be consistent to the meaning of, our positioning. So your question is that apart from a product and price, how we have differentiated. So if you look at our communication, we cater to many segments, and currently the communication is consumed in many ways. So we got to entertain them and keep them connected to us with new news and refreshing, imagery. So that's what we've been doing. And I think the key word is that we've been consistent to our positioning of fueling hot and spicy fun.
It's because we've seen your communications. You have brand ambassadors who have always had the same spirit. From maybe 10 years ago to even now, same spirit. What goes into this thought process?
Yeah, I think if you look at any brand or when you look at managing a brand, I think, there should be synergies. Yeah. So when you pick up brand ambassadors, I think they were celebrities. Yeah. So they got to have the same vibe as your brand. Yeah. So I'm sure if you look at, whom we have selected over the times, I think from starting with Daddy, I think the Timeless Rambury,
right.
And I think one and only BNS.
Of course.
Then Yohani. I think this new Gen Z celebrities like Sana and Ashania all got the same vibe of being, fueling hot and spicy fun. So we have been fortunate to have them in our journey, and they've contributed a lot. I think almost 2 decades.
2 decades. Wow.
Of living the spirit of hot and spicy and creating that community. So I think we are very proud of that.
Lovely. And 2 decades. You just reminded me how old I am too, because I remember when it first came out, it was so exciting. But talking about a brand that was there for 20 years, customer expectations, I'm sure, are changing. But Prima Kottumee has remained very relevant. What's the secret behind that?
Yeah, I think relevance is a very good question. So how do you stay relevant? I think times are changing. Communication is consumed differently. So you got to be, you got to entertain our target audience. Yeah. So that's what I said, we don't look at much demographics, but if you got a mindset which, ties up to our positioning, which is fueling hot and spicy fun, you can always interact with us. So saying that, to be relevant, I think that innovation is one, apart from, product flavors, packaging options, we have the, on the go, the cup.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where the whole changes do happen. As you know, Sri Lanka going through some changes, especially with the retail landscape. So when supermarkets are evolving, you have more variety, more choice. Then at the same time, quick commerce is taking a center stage where the new consumer, I think they don't want to travel, just order. So I think, the incomes also sometimes, it's fluctuating. So then apart from that, I think demographics. So in Sri Lanka, as you know that, there is a very young population.
Yeah.
And also there is a, almost
old.
18%, what the new census says over 60. So we got to manage the expectations.
Right.
And to give the real meaning, I think we got to intervene with new things, going forward.
And talking about new things, K-pop has taken over the world, and you guys have also gotten on that because your Korean, the ramen noodle is superb. How did that come to be?
See, I think when you look at as a brand that's got to stay relevant, we look at global trends, regional and local trends. We found that there's a gap. especially, K-pop is popular. Korean culture is here. They didn't have the accessibility of a good brand, a trusted brand. So we thought, okay, we could do the magic. We curated, we designed the product, authentic Korean flavors. They need the packaging, which actually resonates with
It does
the,
look good, yes.
and the communication, which is simple communication. We want to keep it very simple. So the mix came out very well, and we started with a very, very simple post out with the ramen.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that was New Year.
That was some time back.
But about 2 years ago.
Right.
So during Sinhalese New Year, lots of visitors do arrive from various countries,
Yes.
and I think there's a community that also working in Korea,
Yes.
who normally
Of
visit
course.
Sri Lanka.
And they're used to that taste anyway.
So I think local insights are very important. So we were able to, I think, intervene at the right time, right pricing,
Yes.
and we have a very good distribution network with our whole portfolio. So we were able to reach, and I think for the customer and the consumer, the product was accessible.
Right.
And I think which is a new innovation.
Yes.
And we are very happy as a new product. The journey that it has taken, and also it has given Prima Kottumee, the parent brand, a lot of I think in looking at it from being international,
Yes.
being young, being relevant to Gen Z's, Gen Alpha, you name it. I think I think the whole team has worked tirelessly. I would like to thank the entire team involved in that.
Yes, hats off for sure. And you mentioned distribution. I mean, I forgot to ask you about that, because you can find Prima Kottumee anywhere. I mean, same for Korean ramen.
Right.
I mean, it's not difficult to find. How do you manage this supply chain? I know it's not a branding question, but I'm interested.
Yeah, I think when you ask me the first question, apart from product and price, what are how do you look at the
Uniqueness.
uniqueness? So I think distribution is key.
Right.
I think the product like us, instant noodle, you got to be available in arm's length. But our route to market is I wouldn't say complex, but we take a lot of care. So as you know, Sri Lanka's shopping happens in the modern trade, which is about 1,200 outlets, and it's about 25%.
Right.
Okay, it is projected to grow. Because right now the bigger I would say shopping, and people love to shop in Sri Lanka in groceries.
Yes.
We call the general trade. So it's about 70%. Then online quick commerce is emerging. It's very small at the moment, but I think a lot of potential.
For sure.
So if you look at the channel management, is very important. You got the modern trade, you got small and semi, the medium-sized modern trade outlets.
Yeah.
Then you got the semi-wholesale, wholesale,
Right.
and the general trade. So you got to seamlessly manage your push to these channels, and they got to be managed, in-store, on-store visibility,
Right.
so that give the right image at arm's length.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will be able to not to miss,
For sure.
one of our product. Also,
Yes.
Prima Kottumee and Korean ramen as well.
As well. Wow. One more question about Korean ramen before I move on. Because it's a phenomenal product. It's very authentic in terms of Korean flavors. How did that resonate? Because I know Korean pop culture is all there in Sri Lanka, but
Yeah.
again, I feel like it's a niche segment also yet. So how did you create these flavors to resonate with a larger market?
Yeah, that's a very good question. If you look at, Korean flavors are, I think, the biggest thing is, very spicy.
Yes.
So we have the different spice levels. So I think that's the challenge. I think, that's a challenge for any Korean noodle lovers to partake.
Take in, yes. You need a glass of milk sometimes with
Yeah.
it.
And they have methods of cooking which are very unique.
Yes.
So that the versatility of the brand, the product itself is actually, it can be cooked in a gourmet style or as a comfort food. I think, and also in 4-5 minutes, you got a complete meal. So the meal replacement is something that, as you know that, this target audience, they get up very early.
Yes.
and they sleep very, very late. So the meal locations, when you time you get up to time you sleep,
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of opportunities. So how you look at it, now while at home, while on the go. So now we have introduced even the Korean ramen in cup format.
Oh, perfect.
So which is something, and also for them to pay this price point. I think when you went to the market, it was a surprise because all the imported products in the market was at a, I would
very
say,
higher price.
with very high price, which sometimes I think wouldn't able to reach the real Korean noodle lovers at that time. So we were fortunate. We were able to design the correct product and also give a price that will surprise you.
Love how you said that. One question about from a 20-year-old brand, customer loyalty. I think it's safe to say that there is a lot of loyalty, but how do you keep someone loyal from the time they were 10 years old to the time they are 30 years old?
This been asked many times. I think loyalty is where your brands are picked, continuously, looking at your competitive set. I would say, if your brand is picked over and over again, vis-a-vis your competitors, I think that's loyalty. And as the brand has, given that consistency, the trust, the experiences that brand gives you, I think, obviously with times are changing, but you got to be relevant. I think that's where, what happens is that, the brand's DNA has actually, the values of the DNA is the same, but how you execute during changing times is very important. So we understand that, mantra, and also looking at the local insights, especially with this DG, because as I said, if you have a hot and spicy mind or mindset, you should be able to interact with us very easily, because we like to keep it very simple. The positioning, we have been true to our positioning of, fueling hot and spicy fun. So that's exactly what we have done. I think behind all this, I think there's a lot of, apart from the internal teams, like the brand teams, the sales, marketing, the distribution, I think, you got to have a very good creative set. I'm fortunate to have that for the last 20 years. We had never changed the agency, creative agency for the last, because normally in Sri Lanka, new manager, you take new agency, right? But it has not happened because they know sometimes more than you.
They know the brand. So I think that also is a secret to the authenticity that has,
definitely, and the continuation. So they understand, as you know, the brand identity is something internal. So that we have strict guidelines.
Right.
But brand image is how you are perceived.
Nice.
So we got to manage that. Seamlessly. So what I say is that apart from a creative agency, now the big buzzword is digital. So there's another agency for digital, then the media buying, all that, sales, marketing. I think it's a community that you're building. So I think the continuation, and I think that's the key, how you refresh with new news and how you interact and be relevant. I think that journey, I think for us it has worked. I'm sure we come from old school of marketing
and that still works. You have the proof of proof that it works.
I think that's exactly to be relevant. I think do a lot of work, but I think it's fun going through these 20 years.
For sure. My last question to you, Sajith, after that I'm gonna let you go. What more can we expect from Prima Kottumee in the future?
Yeah, I think, as I told you earlier, Sri Lanka is going through change. The immense opportunity. I would say this is a land of opportunities, right? Because you see that retail landscape is changing. Media is consumed differently. Right now, if you compare with the region or the globally, there are a lot of opportunities. Then our population, demographics, So with that, I would say that, you got to look at the trends. Not that you chase every trend, but you got to look at the trends that are relevant to you and make sure that, even in hard times, you should be able to, I think, intervene correctly. And as a brand that we take pride during even hard times, we were able to premiumize because your loyalty was very high. So I think building loyalty is a game with patience. I think doing the right ingredients for the cocktail. So I'm sure, I think the teams have worked very tirelessly. And I think I'm very proud of the team, who has delivered results which are, commercially viable, not, lots of people say marketing is about just doing a poster and an advertisement. That is not. I think, you got to maximize
It has to result. Yes.
Definitely. So I think it's fortunate. I think you can expect, I think, new news, new formats.
Lovely.
So it's all about, building that community of hot and spicy.
Lovely and amazing. All the best to you. You've got all the ingredients: loyalty, uniqueness, brand DNA, and consistency. So you've got the formula and you're keeping it hot and spicy and fun. Thank you very much for all your insights.
Thank you, Ruanti. Thank you for having us.
And thank you to everyone for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Stay tuned for more chat on LMD Podcast.